Jill Biden thought she could put Senator John Kennedy in his place. But when Kennedy fired back on live TV, his words exposed her so completely, the entire room went silent. Welcome back to the channel, where we dive into the pulse of American politics with unfiltered takes on the moments that shaped the discourse. Washington, D.C. is a battleground of words and ideas, where egos clash and reputations are forged or shattered in an instant. But few moments in recent memory have left the Capitol as electrified as the stunning showdown between First Lady Dr. Jill Biden and Senator John Kennedy. This wasn't just a debate. It was a verbal duel that left jaws on the floor and the internet ablaze. Let's unpack what happened moment by moment in a clash that's already being called one for the history books. It all unfolded at a high-profile public event, a bipartisan forum on education policy, held in the grand auditorium of a Washington think tank. The room was packed with policymakers, journalists, and activists, the air thick with anticipation. Dr. Jill Biden, a seasoned educator and the First Lady, took the stage with her trademark poise. Dressed in a sharp blazer, her demeanor was confident, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd on the importance of federal funding for public schools. She was in her element, weaving personal anecdotes from her teaching career with policy points, aiming to rally support for a new education initiative. The audience leaned in, captivated by her passion. She was ready to own the moment. Then came the Q&A session, and Senator John Kennedy, the junior senator from Louisiana, rose to speak. Known for his folksy charm and razor-sharp wit, Kennedy has a reputation for cutting through political platitudes like a hot knife through butter. As he adjusted his glasses and leaned into the microphone, the room grew quiet. Jill Biden, standing at the podium, braced herself. She'd faced tough questions before. This would be no different, or so she thought. The exchange began politely enough. Kennedy, with his southern drawl, posed a question about the specifics of the proposed funding. "Dr. Biden," he began, his tone deceptively mild, "you're asking for billions of dollars to overhaul our schools. But can you tell us, plain and simple, how much of this money is going to end up in the hands of teachers versus, say, bureaucrats in D.C.? It was a pointed question, but not unexpected. Jill Biden smiled, launching into a prepared response about the need for systemic investment and oversight to ensure funds reached classrooms. But Kennedy wasn't done. As she spoke, he tilted his head, his expression shifting from curiosity to skepticism. When she finished, he didn't clap or nod like the rest of the panel. Instead, he leaned forward, his voice dropping to a deliberate cadence. "With all due respect, ma'am, that sounds like a lot of words to say you don't know. The American people deserve a straight answer. Are we funding teachers, or are we funding more red tape?" The room stirred. A few murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jill Biden's smile tightened, but she held her ground, countering with a defense of the program's accountability measures. That's when things took a turn. Sensing an opening, Kennedy pressed harder. "Dr. Biden, you've been in education a long time, and I respect that. But let's talk turkey. The last time Washington threw money at schools, we got more administrators than teachers and test scores that didn't budge. Now you're telling us to trust the same system that's been fleecing taxpayers for decades?" His words landed like a thunderclap. The audience gasped, some in shock, others in delight. A few conservative-leaning attendees couldn't help but chuckle, while progressives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Jill Biden, caught off guard, tried to pivot. "Senator, I think you're oversimplifying a complex issue," she began, her voice steady, but her eyes betraying a flicker of unease. She launched into a broader defense of public education, emphasizing equity and access. But Kennedy wasn't having it. He raised a hand, cutting her off mid-sentence, a move that drew audible gasps from the crowd. "Ma'am, with respect, I didn't ask for a lecture on equity. I asked for numbers. If you're going to stand up there and ask for our trust, you've got to give us more than feel-good talk." The room erupted. Applause broke out from one side, while others whispered in disbelief. Jill Biden stood frozen for a split second, her face a mix of surprise and frustration. She'd walked into this expecting to command the stage, to use her expertise to silence doubters. Instead, Kennedy had turned the tables, exposing the vagueness of her proposal with surgical precision. His folksy delivery only amplified the sting. Here was a senator who didn't just challenge her, but did so in a way that made the audience question her entire premise. The moment was over almost as quickly as it began, but the fallout was immediate. Smartphones lit up across the auditorium as attendees recorded and tweeted clips of the exchange. By the time the event ended, the internet was buzzing. On X, hashtags like Kennedy Takedown and Jill Biden Flops trended within hours. Conservative commentators hailed Kennedy's performance as a masterclass in holding power to account, with one X post calling it the sharpest verbal smackdown since Scalia was on the bench. Even some liberal analysts admitted begrudgingly that Jill Biden had underestimated her opponent. "She walked in thinking she'd school him," one pundit tweeted. "Instead, she got schooled." For Kennedy's supporters, this was more than a win. It was a defining moment. They saw it as proof of his ability to cut through Washington's polished rhetoric and speak truth to power. His critics, meanwhile, accused him of grandstanding, arguing that his folksy barbs were more about theatrics than substance, but no one could deny the impact. Jill Biden, usually unflappable, had been rattled. Her team later issued a statement downplaying the exchange, insisting she'd answered Kennedy's questions thoroughly, but the damage was done. The clip of her stunned expression, juxtaposed with Kennedy's calm, piercing delivery, was replayed endlessly on cable news and social media. So, what does this mean? Was this Senator John Kennedy's most brutal takedown yet? A moment where his Southern charm and incisive mind left a First Lady speechless? Or was Jill Biden simply caught unprepared, tripped up by a wily senator who knew how to play to the crowd? The truth likely lies in the middle. Kennedy's knack for exposing weak arguments is well documented. He's done it to bureaucrats, nominees, and fellow senators alike. But Jill Biden, a veteran of the political stage, isn't one to crumble easily. Perhaps she misjudged the moment, expecting a softer touch from a senator known for his quips rather than a direct confrontation. What's undeniable is that this exchange has left a mark. It's a reminder that in Washington, no one is untouchable, not even a First Lady. And for Senator John Kennedy, it's another notch in a career built on turning the tables when it matters most. So, tell us in the comments, was this Kennedy's finest hour, or did Jill Biden just have an off day? Let's keep the conversation going.